Hello, I'm Tanya Penny, your Abundance Catalyst and Freedom Coach. And I'm super excited to welcome you to Stop Stuffing. Release emotional eating, drinking, and doing. So, I understand, I get it, I've been there with all three of these destructive patterns. And the truth is, despite our best efforts, our best intentions, we fall into it over and over again, and it's frustrating, and we beat ourselves up for it, and we're wondering if it can ever end, right? How can we really release these destructive patterns that make us feel bad about ourselves and are really abusive to our bodies? So that's what we're going to do in this virtual workshop. So in today's video, we are going to dive into the triggers, the causes. What are the underlying root causes that make us fall into these patterns of eating too much, drinking too much, and getting too busy, doing too much? Filling up your schedule, constantly doing, never being able to slow down. And as I said before, I struggled with all three of these. So, I'm going to dive into why we struggle, where do these patterns come from? And then why? What causes us to get triggered to fall into these patterns? So where they come from is growing up. Typically what happens is we see our family members not handle stress so well. So stress generally is a trigger. And I'm going to actually go in more deeper into that in a little bit. But growing up, we see our families not handling stress in a healthy way. I saw my mom when she was angry, sad, stressed out, or overwhelmed, she would go and eat, right? So that was modeled. I saw my dad go and drink or do drugs. So I also saw my dad stay really busy, right? So kind of avoiding feeling the stress and those emotions that I mentioned by stuffing with food. My mom did that, drugs and alcohol, my dad, and then with being busy. And my dad did that, and my mom did that to some degree as well. So we tend to use the pattern that we saw most often growing up. And if we saw all three patterns, we typically do all three to some degree, some worse than others, right? So that's where they come from. And we know that stress triggers them, right? So we have these emotions of either overwhelm, anxiety, maybe it's depression. Perhaps you're angry about something, but you're not going to express it. Perhaps you're sad about something or lonely. And so what we do, because we don't want to feel that painful emotion, that stressful emotion, we stuff it, right? So what causes stress? What causes these emotions? Well, typically, there's lots of things, right? We can have money stress, we can have relationship stress that triggers it. We cannot be happy in our jobs, our careers, our purpose. We can just have that inner critic, that voice in our head that's constantly beating us up and makes us feel like shit. So, in a nutshell, those are all the whys, the triggers. And during the holidays, which are coming up, I find that a lot of us especially fall into these patterns, even more than usual, perhaps, at least myself and my clients. So that's why I always do this workshop this time of year, because it really seems to be especially triggered during the holidays. And why is that? Well, because the holidays for a lot of us tend to be, fun, yes, but also very stressful and or lonely times. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves to buy the perfect gifts, to put on the perfect parties, to attend all the parties, to please people, please family. We get around our families and it triggers stuff, right? All of our old stuff. And then we stuff. right? We get more anxious, more depressed, we feel bad about ourselves, and so to get away from those emotions, those negative feelings, we eat, we get drunk, we drink too much, we maybe do drugs, and maybe we get even more busy, right? We fill our plates even more so we don't have to feel. So that is why, why we typically have these patterns, these stuffing patterns. And there's other stuffing patterns too, don't get me wrong. I'm focusing on these three, but there's also shopping, gambling, sex. So sometimes people use those things to stuff their emotions, their stress, their negative feelings as well. So I hope that this video today helped you shine some light, because I believe that we need to have compassion and curiosity, which, in a nutshell, is awareness of these patterns. Like, why? Where did they come from? What triggers them? And then we're going to move forward into the audio lesson in the live class with tips and tools and strategy to help you release them. I struggled with these patterns since I was probably 8 years old, right? That's when the food started. When I got into college, it was the drinking and the drugs, and then the pressure and getting real busy and overdoing it and never slowing down so I didn't have to feel, right? So I struggled with these patterns from the time I was 8 years old, really struggled bad with them for about 20 years. And it was about 8 years ago when I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis that it made me really stop and have to look at these patterns, right? I struggled with weight, addiction, all of it. So that's why I'm here today, to share this with you in this workshop. And yeah, so leave today with a little bit of what I call passion work or inspired action step. And I want you to grab a notebook or open a Word document or whatever document you want to use and take some time to reflect on, number one, what did I see growing up in terms of stuffing? Did my mom, my dad, other adults or authority in my life, what did I see them do? How did they handle emotions? Did they stuff with food, with alcohol, drugs, being really busy, or any of the other ones that I mentioned? So shine the light. It's not to blame them, it's just to know where it comes from. That really helps in being able to release it. And then number two, what stresses do you know, are you aware of in your life that cause this triggering, whether it's all three or one of them, that causes you to fall into stuffing with food, alcohol, or any of the other ones? So what are those stresses? What are those negative emotions that you're trying to stuff and get away from and not feel? Okay, so, and then next time you're going to have a beautiful audio lesson that'll help you shine some more light and provide some tips and tools to release them. So have a great day. Remember, we're not here to beat ourselves up or to blame anyone else. We're just shining the light of awareness right now in this video. And if you know of anybody else that struggles with emotional eating, drinking, struggles with stuffing, please feel free to share this information with them so that they can benefit too. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me, Tanya@TanyaPenny.com. Would love to hear comments, ahas, anything at all that comes up for you. Have a great day.